Hey there! Welcome to my channel where I turn memories and creative ideas into works of family treasures. Every Wednesday we meet up live to talk about new products that I've gotten and all things crafty. Today we're going to talk about inspiration, where to get it, how to get our creative muses back. So my friends, get ready to be inspired by what's happening Wednesday. So my friends, have you ever had time to craft, had the photos that you want to use to make great scrapbook pages, and you sit down in your space and there's nothing? I mean, you got nothing. Yeah, me too. Happens a lot. And so today I want to talk you through three of my favorite ways to get my creative muse back. So the first one that we are going to talk about is something that I learned from Tim Holtz. He calls it compartmental making. We're going to talk about how I define it as compartmental making. We're also going to talk about using mood boards or photos for inspiration, as well as sketches. So hang on while I Blair Witch you around here and get you down to the workspace so I can show you what I'm talking about. Hang on, friends. All right, here we go. So, we're learning all the things, my friends. We're trying some new software. We're trying a new microphone. I'm really hoping that all of the things are working. I have my computer over here where I can see what's going on, see if we're actually live in YouTube, and hopefully we are. I'm checking it out. See, there we are. I see us. Yay, we're live. All right, so let's dive in. Compartmental making. What is it? What does it mean? This idea originated with Tim Holtz, and he talks about it a lot in his lives. For me, compartmental making is really putting together a few supplies and then making with those supplies. So when I was in the classroom, we called this idea process art. And what we would do is we would gather up some supplies for the kiddos and we would set them out in the art department and we would give them the basics. So like if they were using puffy stickers for the first time, we would go through the basics. We would say, this is what a puffy sticker is. This is how you take the back off of it. Literally the explanation that we would give was how to use the tool, not what to do with it. So for me, compartmental making is something like this. So I sat down with some paper, a blending tool, and then some inks. Both Distress Regular and Distress Oxide. And I just spent some time blending out backgrounds, checking out the tools. If you've been with me for a while and you've seen my other videos, you know domed phones aren't my favorite. Well, here's actually why. I tend to get hard edges with the domed foam. It's just me. I know most people don't, but I do. And I find that with the regular inks, I tend to get more hard edges. Where, you know, if I'm diving into the oxide inks, I don't get as much. So for me, departmental making is grabbing a set of supplies and creating with them. Now I have this great stack of backgrounds. What do I do with them? Well, I hang on to them. I actually hang on to them in this, oh my goodness, come on. I got a random green piece of paper that won't go away. I hang on to them in the storage tins. I keep my Tim Holtz crayons in these. These are my storage tins. And so I have several. This one happens to have paper dolls in it. So the compartmental make on this day was I took clear gesso and I just covered a bunch of paper dolls that I liked. Why? So that they were ready to be painted. So here these little guys are, and I've added some color to it. Now I have this great tin ready with already ready to go paper dolls. Since I don't use all of my paper dolls colored, I don't gesso them. But this was a great, I had time, I wanted to do something. I wanted to be productive, but that creative muse, man, she was nowhere to be found. So this was what I did. On a different day, I sat and worked out inked backgrounds. I might pull out some watercolor paper and spray stains. See what they do. How do they react to each other? How does oxide ink, which is what this green is, react against, say, the regular spray stains? How do different companies play together? So now I have all of these beautiful backgrounds ready to go when I have a project to make. Whether I needed something die cut, whether I needed to make a card, I have beautiful backgrounds. And when I say I have a lot, I really do. Another thing that I've done is I've created a bunch of tags with different products. So this has the Stickles paste. Just trying to see if I've grabbed that. Sometimes I grab out and I don't see them. I thought I did, but I didn't. But this is the paste, and I put it through the glitter paste. I put it through a stencil that I had already inked the background of. Here's another one. So these are all ready to be used or played with, added to a card, cut apart. They don't have to stay a tag. I could cut it apart and it becomes a focus area on a tag. So I have lots of them. This is what I do. This is one of the things I do when I don't have any creativity flowing. And then I have all of these really great pieces ready to go, ready to be used. Need a card quick? Here it is. And they're all on different papers. Now, some of them, if I was playing with different mediums, let's say, I might write on the back. So for this piece, this is watercolor paper that I cut. I used the opaque crackle medium on it, and this is how it turned out. Right? And then on this one, it almost to me looks like it has felt on it. And so this was the grit translucent, and I think it's the grit that's pulling in the ink, and it's giving it that really neat look that almost looks like you should feel felt. So sometimes I keep them just as a reminder of what happened with the technique, and that's why I'm hanging on to this one. In my bucket of when you have enough time to do something, I have this one set to try again and see if it keeps doing that. Does grit paste keep giving this felt look? And if it does, that's a really cool technique. And I would not have learned that if I hadn't spent the time just playing with what I have. No project at the end of the road, no real kind of end goal, just more of this idea of I want to make something that that's going to be there for me to use, but I don't always have that kind of finished project in mind. Another thing that I've done is these are watercolored. And so I just cut them apart into different sizes. And now I have these ready to go, either to make artist trading cards or to be on a card or maybe even squares on a layout. And I keep stacks of these things in my craft space ready to go. So another idea with this kind of idea of compartmental making is that maybe in one of my play sessions, I pull up YouTube and I watch maybe an old Vicky Booten Friday Night Live where she grabs, say, maybe a gel plate one, and I will go through and play along with. Or I know this past week she did a technique called ink smooshing. It's not the same thing that I thought of as ink smooshing, which I was kind of, it was an interesting thing. I thought that I knew what it was, but it wasn't. And I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Now I've played along and I have the pieces I need when I need them. Does it always get my creativity flowing? If I'm being completely honest, no. Not every time. But I can say that I have never walked away from one of those sessions feeling like it was time wasted. I always end up with something that is very usable in the future. All right. So let's say that you've done that and now you have a stack of things and you're thinking, all right, what else? I've done that. I've tried that. Have you ever tried mood boards? So I went to Pinterest and I typed in mood board and I started just pulling images. I also have a Pinterest folder, but I started pulling things that I might like or might want to use and just different colorways, things that spoke to me. Obviously, I'm in a very tropical vibe right now. It's probably because it's cold and rainy here and I am ready for some warmth. But I started pulling mood boards that I liked, that really spoke to me. I do have a link down below to one of my favorite websites that will put up mood boards. And so they have several different ones. I love to play along with. So it becomes my color palette. Or it may become, rather than the color palette, it may be something like this geometric design that speaks to me. And so now I'm imitating this. I also take photographs when I am out and about if something speaks to me. When we were in Mexico for spring break last year, I took lots of pictures of tile. They had these absolutely gorgeous tiles, and I thought that they were very inspirational. I love the color palettes. They were very much kind of in this feel, but it gives me a place to go back to. It also gives me a place to pull from. So let's say that I have a picture, a photograph of us at the beach. You know, here's a great example. You've got these three really pretty ladies in the middle. So I've got a photograph of us and I'm thinking, what do I want my color palette to be? What do I want to pull from? I could go to one of these mood boards and say, ooh, I'm going to focus on the blues. Well, here's a soft pink pastel-y color palette with blues. Here is kind of a middle of the road, and then this one has a really pretty dark. So it kind of gives me a place to go. And then from here I can pull out my swatch rings that I have, and I could start color matching and go, oh, this color looks like that, and pulling together a palette and then pull those pieces, and now I have something to play with. A lot of times I will use this with my compartmental makes. This will become kind of the starting point, and then I'll start pulling colors together and deciding which colors work best together. Or is there a color that I want to mix in? Do I want to pull more of this or less of that? Sometimes it's just simply an image, like this fruit in the background that I've drawn from the shape. So the circle with kind of that pinwheel in it. So they also show a clock here. Woo, off the camera. They also show a clock here that's very similar in that idea. So it's the circle with the spokes in it. And I might pull things that are reminiscent of that. So that's another idea. When that doesn't work, or when I have a deadline, these are always my favorite. Deadline, something I'm pushing for. I've got a video I want to get out to you guys, something I'm working on, and there's nothing. I go to sketches. I love sketches. And there are two different groups that I really go to frequently. Page Maps has been around for a long time. I love Page Maps. They give you a PDF link. So when you go to their website, and it is linked below, you will see some of the sketches they will have pulled out and their design team will create with them. But then you also get this printable, the PDF that you can print. They have scrapbook pages and cards. I just pulled their scrapbook pages today and printed this so you can see. I love that they give us some 8.5 by 11 as well as some 12 by 12 singles and doubles. Of course, you could always marry the two pages together and then turn a single into a double. So I love Page Maps. This group is a little bit newer to me, Scrapbook Generation. They have some free sketches, but they also have some for purchase sketches. And they give you a whole lot of information that Page Maps does not. So down at the bottom, you get measurements as well as some information on placement. And then what I really kind of liked is over here in the corner, they tell you how many photos you're going to need. So I am going to be purchasing some of these. I have reached out to this company to find out if I have purchased them, if I'm allowed to use them in my videos, because I don't want to give away, their product. I want you guys to go to them. They are linked below. I'm really excited. This is one of the free ones. I have some, and I'll tell you why I pulled this one. This one is actually going into a project that I'm working on from our Disney trip. So this is really exciting. I'm super, super excited about that one. I also have sketches for cards. So a long time ago, I printed out a bunch of sketches. These happen to be from Operation Right Home. And I took them, downloaded the images, put them together, and then cut them apart into small sizes so that I could have it in a smaller space to see. These are actually the sketch that I used to create this card. So this was the starting place, and they're two very similar sketches. I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go, but I had made all of these watercolor backgrounds. These are this is a card order that I did for a client. This was my test, and it's not perfect, but I always do a test that I keep. But it is kind of a blend of this idea. So your sketches don't always have to translate verbatim into what you're doing. They can be your inspiration, which I think is fantastic. And that's what happened here. So my client was very happy with their Valentine's Day cards. And it's all started from a sketch. Again, a deadline that I needed to get to. And I just wasn't sure what to do. Actually, I was working from the place of I have a limited number of these watercolored backgrounds, and how do I get the best bang for my buck? And so this is how we got to it, and I'm really, really super excited. I also had to make 100 of them. Well, I didn't have to. Obviously I took the order, but my goal was 100 of them. So I needed something that could be broken into pieces, could be a different take on a compartmental make. So I watercolored all my backgrounds, then I cut them all apart. Then I punched out all my hearts, and then I set up the Misty and stamped them. So I did it in compartments and pieces so that I could put these together. So that was another way that the sketch helped me move forward into doing a larger number. For any of you guys that are Christmas card makers, this is a really, really great way to start and to create Christmas cards with multiples, because you're not just sending maybe ones or twos, you might be sending multiples. This would be a place to start, would be with a sketch. Not all sketches out there have the measurements, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure these measurements are perfect, but it's what I went with. And so I started there, layered the piece. I was able to come up with 100 beautiful cards. So thank you guys so much for joining me in this portion of our creative journey. I hope you enjoyed this edition of What's Happening Wednesday. Maybe you learned something new, or it sparked some creativity in you, and you are now ready to dive in and tackle some of your projects. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so that you get notified for all of the scrapbooking fun that I put out. Coming up, just a little sneak peek. We are going to make some of our own embellishments. I'm really excited. It's coming. So make sure that you're subscribed so that you know when that one comes out. If you have a suggestion for a future What's Happening Wednesday, please let me know in the comments below. Until next time, my friends, let us all be a little bit kinder.